I'm Jerrod Toth, and today we're going to be doing a project that I've been wanting to try for a while. I actually did an experiment and it came out well, so I figured, hey, let's do it again. I ended up giving away the last one I did as a gift, and it was so nice I actually wanted to keep it for myself. So this is the other half of the blank that I had. This is a random log. I don't know what type of wood this is, but it's kind of popular here in Nevada. So it's not mesquite. I'm not really sure what it is, but there's not much grain to it. There's not a lot of grain pattern or anything to it. So to enhance the bowl, we'll be making a bowl to basically enhance it and give it some characteristics. I decided to torch it. So basically, that's what we'll do. We'll end up keeping it a simple design to not take away from the torch and the burn of it. And we'll end up filling in any cracks that there may be with sand. Because the last time I did this, as I torched it, cracks started to appear from the burning and everything else. And I'll show you the whole process, but then I filled out with sand, and then we'll go from there. This is a little bit of a more shallow piece than I had last time, so we'll see how it goes. But as you can see, I took a compass that I have, and I kind of marked out the center. I try to do it on the bark side, which is normal, because you want to lay this flat, but I don't have really a white marker. Like a white Chinese marker would do great on that. I don't have one. So I marked this out, and I'm just going to do the best. I'm just going to do a rough, basically knock off the edges. It's not going to be a perfect circle. I don't really have a blade like that on my bandsaw anyways. I have a 1-inch blade, so it's not really great for making turns. So let's go to the bandsaw, start knocking off these edges, and then we'll get it mounted up on the lathe, and we'll start from there. All right, that's pretty close. That's as close as I'm gonna get it. I'm not gonna, with me eyeballing it from the top side, I think that's pretty good. I took a punch and I also marked the center. I'm not sure if you could see it, but the center is marked right there. So we're gonna put the face plate on and get it mounted on the lathe. So lucky me, one of the screws broke off in there. So we're gonna have to dig that out. These are secure enough. This thing is really light, so I'm not really that worried about it. I'm not gonna start at a high speed, but I'm gonna round it out and shape it, and then when we flip it around, I'm gonna have to dig that out. And I'll show you how I do that. It's a pain, but we'll get it out of there. We'll get it mounted up on the lathe. Tailstock, we'll make sure that it's secure, just a little extra security on this thing. Got that tightened down. Let me get my face shield, my gloves on, and we'll take our bowl gouge and start rounding this thing out. I have it a little over 800 RPMs. I'm starting out at a slower speed just to knock off some of these edges. Once again, I have my bowl gouge. And we'll start kind of just rounding it out. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna speed it up a bit. I'm gonna bring it up to 1200 RPMs, and then, I mean, I still have a little bit to do, but it's spinning really well. So I think I could bring it up. I knocked off all the hard edges on it. So I zoomed you in to see what's going on. There's a little bit of cracks here, and I know once I torch it, those are gonna expand, so we'll fill that out. But it ends up giving a really great, like depth to it, that you have this torch, and then there's all these other cracks that it will be. It's a black sand that I'm gonna use. And you can see there's not much of a grain pattern here. It's kind of a boring wood a little bit, but once you torch it, it kind of comes out a little bit more. So next I'm going to, I zoomed you in so you can see, I'm basically gonna smooth all this out really nice. And I just do a really nice light feathering cut with it. I have it kind of at an angle, and then I just lightly blend all this together and take out any little imperfections. So we'll do that right now. You can see how much smoother it gets. This is how I get really perfect finishes, and I don't have to do as much sanding. I definitely recommend one of these. Some people use a negative rake scraper. Those are good too. This is just what I got, and I love it. I wouldn't change it. Right. I'm going to go ahead, take my skew to my tenon here, put a little bit of an angle on it so the chuck has something to grab onto. And there we are. Now I could go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and sand the outside. I'll show you the steps, but I'm going to sand it to 600 grit. I'm going to start with 220, and then we'll torch it, and then we'll sand it again. Not all the way, we won't go all the way back down. We'll probably start at a 400 and then 600 after I torch it, depending on the cracks and what we need to fill. So we'll do that next step. All right, it's looking pretty good. Now's the time. I'm gonna take the torch to it. So I'm using propane fuel. You do not want to use the butane. That's the yellow canister. You could try to do it, but you got to be really careful with that because that's such a hotter flame that it doesn't give you the same effect. It scorches your wood really bad, and it really does just look like burnt wood. This gives you a nice, basically char on the outside, nothing too drastic. It just adds color to it. So I'll show you how I do it here. You see how the grain pattern starts coming out. There's some good cracks in there. I just took 320 to it really fast. It looks good, but before I go any further with sanding, I want to go ahead and try to fill these cracks. So sometimes I like it when they open up a little bit more, but we'll get them full. I'm going to take black sand and dump it in there, and then CA glue. All right, so I got this black hobby sand that I use. Basically, I pour a little on there. I take a little brush. I'm probably going to have to take it off the lathe to get this completely filled. The way I want it. But I'll just want to basically show you how I'm doing this. So I'm going to continue doing that, but I'm going to take it off the lathe so I can get this part. When I put the sand on it on the lathe, it wants to spill off. So I'm going to continue to fill, and when we come back, we'll sand it really fast to get, you know, all these glue marks off, and then the sand that's not flush, or smooth, and then we'll finish the outside and flip it around. All right, we have the sand on there. I'm going to try to take some sandpaper and get it off. We may have to retorch a little bit, which is fine. If the sandpaper doesn't work, then I'm going to use my bowl scraper again and just lightly take it off. Let's start the sanding process over. Okay, we have it sanded smooth again. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna torch it again and then start sanding with 320. All right, I have it sanded down to 600. It's where I want it to be. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna apply a ton of the Formbees tung oil high gloss. I'm gonna really saturate it in there. I'll let it sit for 5 minutes or so, and then I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna wipe off the excess. I have a video on finishing, so I'm not gonna go ahead and show you my whole finish, but basically it's a couple coats of this, and then I put shine juice on there, and I buff in between. I'm gonna go ahead, I'll do all those stages, and then we'll flip it around. When we come back, it'll be basically the finish on the outside will be done, and we'll flip it around and we'll be hollowing out the inside. I'm gonna leave the outside or the inside of the bowl not burnt like the inside. I want a contrast between the two. So we'll go from there. So I have the whole outside basically finished. It still has to be polished, but it's shining pretty well. I have a few coats of tung oil on there, and then I used the shine juice. And once again, if you're looking at how I did this, and I have a whole video on how you get the perfect finish. But if you remember, we have a broken screw in here that we need to get out. So before we can flip it around on the chuck and start hollowing the whole thing out, we have to get that out of there, or else it's going to destroy my chisels. So I'll show you how to do that. So I'm going to try this first. This bit is actually made to make little plugs for filling in screw holes. So you know, when you do countersinks with screws and then you have the hole there, this, you can make your own plugs with the same type of wood and plug it in and then sand it down. So that's what this is for, but I think it should go around. If you could see, the blade cuts around this whole center part. So I'm gonna use this to try to dig around it and then try to get it out from there. So you can see what it does, and then we'll try to pry it out. We'll see if I went deep enough on it. I may not have gone deep enough, but we'll, oh yeah, I did. And there's the screw in there. You can see how this thing made a little plug. If you do enough woodworking, I definitely recommend it. It's a neat little thing to fill in all your screw holes rather than using a putty or anything. So that's how I do it. That was easy enough. Now I'm gonna get it put on the chuck and we'll start hollowing this thing out. Here's my little depth tool that I made in a video a long time ago. I still use this. I think it's really handy. Basically, this slides up and down, this little part, and then you put it on the side here and figure out how deep you want to go, and then you kind of drill a hole there. You just kind of push it in until you get to that depth. Real easy. And there we are. We're good to go. Now I know how deep I can go. Once again, take my bowl gouge, and I'm gonna start hollowing this thing out. Actually, I'll probably square it up first. I never squared up the face. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to do the same as before. I'm going to sand it to 600 or so, and then I'm going to use my tung oil and shine juice. And then when we come back, that will be done, and we'll be flipping it around and just finishing off the bottom, taking the tenon off the bottom. So let me get that done, and then we'll do the bottom part. All right, I put down the painter's tape on here, basically just to help protect the edges a little bit, just to give it a little bit of a raise so it's not touching the metal, potentially, you know, give it a scratch or anything. I still have to buff it and wax it, but I don't want any imperfections because I have the lip exactly the way I want it. So now I'm gonna go ahead and flatten this. I'm gonna take off the tenon and then sand it, and then do the same process. I'll end up using the Formby's tung oil, and then the shine juice, and then you know, a few coats of both, and then that'll be it. The bowl will be done. So let's take this off. So this is pretty flat. I gotta tell you, I thought about burning the bottom of this too, but I think I do like the contrast. If you pick it up, it's gonna be straight. Once I sand all this, it'll be a nice just white ring. So I think I'm gonna leave it. I don't think I'm gonna end up torching it. So there'll be two, the inside and then the bottom. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna start sanding it. I'm probably gonna start with about 220, and that will be basically it. I don't think I'm gonna show the sanding process. Just, you know, 220, I'm gonna go up to 600, and like I said, I'll I'll put the oil on it, and then I'll shine juice it up, and then polish it out. And when we come back, I'll be done. Well, that's about it. It's all polished up. Looks beautiful, not bad for a scrap piece of wood that I had no idea what it is. So it's just another idea for, you know, if you look at this bowl, there's not much grain pattern in it, but then when you put the scorch on there from the torch, it gives it a really nice feature. So it's just one more thing to do. I'm really happy with the way this bowl came out. I like the contrast between the light and then the dark on the bowl. I think it's you know, it's a simple design, but it's just kind of really, I think, kind of an elegant look to this. And I didn't want to go too crazy with any kind of beads or anything along those lines. I wanted to really emphasize, you know, like the torch marks on it, and then the white. I wanted you to focus more on that, so that's why I did it this way. But all in all, I'm really happy with it, considering, like I said, it was a scrap piece of wood that I had no idea what it was, and there wasn't much grain to it. So it kind of brought everything out, making it look really, really nice. I'm pretty pleased. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. I do appreciate every one of my subscribers, and please leave a comment if you feel like it. I'm really good at writing everyone back. If you have any questions or comments or suggestions, feel free. I also have a Woodturners Journal Facebook page. If you're new to wood turning, or if you're even an experienced wood turner, it's a place, it's just a nice little community for everybody to go and share their work, ask questions, and kind of learn off of each other. And that's kind of really what it's all about. So the link will be below the video, so check that out. It's called Woodturners Journal. You know, it's in Facebook. And then also at the bottom of the this video, I also have links to any of the stuff that I may use in the video, where to buy it, where to get it. That actually helps me out. I get like a tiny percentage of anything you buy, but it helps very little, but it does help fund some of these projects so I could keep it going, you know. And other than that, I just want to thank you for watching, and until next time, thank you.